Okay, this is our last class period. Okay, you should have. I think you get 10 extra points for that. Yeah. You get minus 10 for that. Okay. So I'm hoping that you've turned in your company descriptions and your executive summaries and that you'll be doing peer reviews on those shortly. I will check that they're done and give you points. I will not be giving any feedback. No feedback on financials if you didn't take advantage of a workshop or a chat session. You guys had a workshop that was in class, so there's no reason that you shouldn't have done it. What was that for, Amber? What was that for?
It was me describing my activities and how the parts would
Oh, okay. I was going to say, you made 2 of the workshops. It shouldn't have been a hands down. So anyway, I gave one Wednesday night and then Saturday, and then I was on chats for about 6 hours on Saturday. So if even the online students didn't take advantage of any of those, I sent several emails saying that I was providing that. If you didn't take advantage of that, you're kind of at a loss at this point. So make sure you get some feedback from your peers. So what I want to talk about today is the layout of the paper. A couple things I'm still noticing when I went through some papers I was reading, and also the presentation. And so I'm going to give you some examples of those. Some of the things I first wanted to mention is many of you failed to remember to put a business license fee in your operating expenses, so make sure you figure out what that fee is, if it's annually or if it's a one-time fee and you don't pay it again. If it's annually, you'll need to put it in for the year 2 and 3 as well.
I got one. For example, I need a different license for home care. Is that a business license?
I don't know. You'll need to check. I don't know the home care industry, so you need to check if there's other licensing that you may need other than just registering the business as a business.
So, but yeah, I know that I need other licenses,
Yes.
but I still have to have the normal business license.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. Yes. Okay. Pronouns are still being used, so try to do those. The reference list formatting, especially for web pages. A lot of people said they will need to be blank, 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 or will plan to be blank, 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 and it just needs to be, get the need to and plan to out. It needs to be will be doing, or will, just make sure it's not a plan to or need to. You will do, okay? Remove any of the things on some of the templates that you're using. For example, the income statement. When it goes over to be the report, it will still show operating expense 13, operating expense 14. So make sure you delete those so when it goes to the report. So anything that reflects on the reports, just delete. Don't try to delete the rows. Just delete that text so it's not showing up in your reports. So anything that's a template that says add something here, then please delete that so that it doesn't show up on your reports.
I know one of the reports, I think it's one of the annual ones, it's got a divide by 0 statement for the balance sheet one, I believe.
Okay.
Which we don't have any assets going into it, so it's not calculating that right.
Okay, we'll need to look at that. That shouldn't show up in any of your reports.
I think that was in mine as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll take a look and see what's happening. But yeah, you shouldn't have any of that, and we'll have to look. Maybe the spreadsheet's going to allow. But more of the template things that say operating expense 10, 11, 12, get those out if you're not utilizing all of them. And just delete the words. Do not delete the rows or any columns because you'll be screaming. Okay? All right, so make sure you take care of those. Okay, what is needed for the financials is the 6 reports. And if you look all the way at the end of the financial statements, they're called reports. And there's year income statement, year cash flow, year balance sheet, and then monthly cash flow, monthly balance sheet, monthly income statement. You will need to print those or what goes in your paper, okay? We don't want to see the Excel, all the templates and all. Those are the only things that will be included in your paper, and they'll be in an appendix. Okay? What you can do is just make an appendix, whatever letter it happens to be when you start talking about your financials. You could say Appendix D, financial statements, on a sheet of paper by itself. Just put it right in the middle. And then after that, you can have all the financials lined up so that you don't have to write appendices on each of them. Okay, because they're all going to be, so you can just say, refer to Appendix D, and that'll be all the financials. Okay, but for most things, you separate them out. So if you have floor plans or pictures or anything, menus or list of equipment that was more than was needed, too much detail for the paper, those will also go in the appendix. So the first time they're mentioned in the paper, they become A. The next time one's mentioned, it's B. Okay, I've gotten people to be real creative in, I want to put them in alphabetical order, therefore I'm going to start with Appendix X because that was when that said assumptions or something. Okay, assumptions will be one of your appendices too, but it should be separate from the financial statements. So you're going to have at least 2 things in the appendix, but I imagine some of you may have more. You don't need them. If they're not necessary, don't make some up. But if you have pictures of equipment, pictures of floor plans, or any of those, that's where those things go. Okay? Now, I want to show you a picture. Mark, are we going to be on the screen here now?
Yep.
Okay. One of the examples in the face-to-face class, it's actually called Example 2. And when you go, in fact, I think it's open here. For those of you online, it's actually called the Orange Blossom Bridal, which is an example that's in there that you may have used to do your evaluation. So what I want to show you on this particular one, it's in a PDF format right now. So what we need to do is the executive summary comes first. Okay. And notice it has a small Roman numeral page numbering. It's 2 Roman numerals because the cover page is 1, but 1 does not appear on page 1. Okay, so it starts with Roman numeral 2. If you then had acknowledgments or anything that you wanted to include that this paper needs to remain confidential, names have been changed, or please do not let other students see this paper because this is going to be a real business, those would also go under this. Acknowledgments would go under this, and they would remain small Roman numerals until you get to the table of contents. The table of contents needs to go just before the first section of the paper. So anything prior to that would go before, and it gets numbered with a small Roman numeral. So even though the executive summary is above the table of contents, it's still included in the table of contents, but it has a small Roman numeral to tell us it's prior to the table of contents. Okay? So if you had several things, they'd all go in here, Roman numeral 4, Roman numeral 5, whatever it is, and then your company description is your first page. Each section of your paper, company description, what they did was then sub each area out, okay? And then they got into, so all of these that aren't indented should start on a new page. So whether you want to do this subtopic is up to you, okay? Dot leaders are tabs. They are not periods to go all the way across and hit a number, because you will never get a nice straight line on the right-hand side. So make sure that you use dot leaders and not dots. Go through, again, the table of contents is numbered with a Roman numeral. Okay? Keeps going, still Roman numeral, still Roman numeral. Appendices, okay? And then Appendix A, what it is, what page it's on. As you can see in the financials, they made one financial appendix and then included all of this other stuff in here for their assumptions, and then one for the financial statements and then their financial statements. The assumptions can be one by itself. This one's a little more detailed. If you want to do this, this is fine. And then the reference list, and it's numbered. Okay? Now, when the paper starts with company description, it becomes page 1. Now, this is a little tricky, because how do I have part of my paper numbered one way and another part of my paper numbered another way, and then let's throw another kink in it. Part of my paper is probably going to have to be in landscape because I've got some wrong financials. Okay? Those are called section breaks. So things that you need to learn is page numbering that changes, section breaks, and dot leaders. And you're in luck because I made a video for you. All right? So we go through the entire paper, should be self-explanatory. What I wouldn't, let me see if there's something here. Industry, target market starts on a new section.
Would you have started industry analysis on the new page as well?
Well, I was looking at that. Was that whole thing industry analysis?
It looked like it started in the middle.
This is like 3 headings, yeah.
Yeah, it started
Oh, yeah, it should have. I thought it would, yeah. So company description, this should be a new page right here. So thanks for catching that. And when I put it in this format, it may have messed that up, but we'll have to see on the page number. So each one of those major chapters headings need to be on a new page. It looks like the others are, or maybe it's just coincidental. Target market started on a new page.
I noticed I hadn't heard table.
Table of contents, it was the same number? Okay. Yeah. Competitive analysis, you're right. So that would need to start on a new page as well. Okay.
Is there specific rules for titles or headings, how we should do that?
No, be consistent. I have some people that put a line across there, some do it in color. Just be consistent.
Okay.
Okay, if every time you're going to put a title and then a subtitle, make sure you're consistent. There probably is some fancy APA rule that I think the first one is bold, the second one is italics, and the third one is underlined or something. But as long as you're consistent, I'm fine with that. Okay. Notice here they've got their capacity figured out, competitive analysis. Here's the competitive analysis that needs to go in there. Total target market was the TMP in here. Yeah, here's the TMP. Okay, so we've got our total market potential figured out. Then we've got our market or sales potential for both companies. She's running 2 different areas. She combined them. And then counties. And both counties here. And so 101 should be what she sales forecast. She's going to sell 101 wedding dresses. I believe that's what this is. For year 1, and so whatever the wedding dress cost, she had a small, medium, and large price. She would disperse them where there was 101 of them, and that's her sales for the first year. This number needs to directly link to your sales number. We've said that, what, 30 times? Okay, so, all right. And then in the appendix, what you will do is make sure that you have an appendix heading for each one the same as you do in your table of contents. So this starts it. Appendix A, the title. Okay, Appendix B, the title. You never put 2 appendices on the same page. Okay, but what she did do was this was all, and this is a no-no as well, guys. Never split a chart like this. What you would do in Excel, and Excel does it for you, say repeat headings on second page. So the headings should also come back here. I should never have to lay 2 pages next to each other to determine what the headings are supposed to be. So this is her loan amortization table here, obviously, which she added as another appendix. Appendix financial assumptions, and then it goes on for several pages for all her financial assumptions, which may be overkill for some of you as well. Okay, and then we start with our, well, eventually. Okay. And then financials, you could put a blank page, or she just started this way, appendix, and then, so she could have just had a blank page that said this, and then each one have the subheading, either one. But as you notice, there won't be a new. So notice how this is landscape, this is portrait, landscape, portrait, okay? It's not a lot of fun to do this. It will not work out the first time. This right here is incorrect. Retrieved on the date from what? And I think I marked that on all of yours. But this one is fairly good as a layout to understand how the paper should look. There are some things, so I don't want to hear you say it, but the paper you showed us had it like that because I just pointed out the things that shouldn't have been on that. Okay? We all okay on that? Now, when you go over to Moodle, you will see this video right here, page numbers, like, should be section breaks and dot leaders. Okay, watch that video. I am really sorry to tell you that if you call me or email me and say I can't get the section breaks to work, I can't see what your computer's doing. Everybody has used this and it's worked, but I will tell you it's a little frustrating and you may have to try it 2 or 3 times where you say, okay, this is what happened when I did this, so do a little troubleshooting. I need to do it this way this time. But each time you either change page numbers, which are going to go Roman numeral to then regular numbers, and then change from landscape to portrait and back and forth. Those require a section break. Okay, sometimes it puts a blank page in there. You will have to delete that blank page. It'll add a blank page in there for you. Okay? Dot leaders are in there. They're not a lot of fun either. Okay? It'll work and then it'll stop working. But I've done a video with a paper open and done all of this for you, and I'm talking through it as I do it. Okay? It's been a video that's worked very well for all the students. Yes?
On my papers, I put a header with the title. Should I get rid of those for this part?
You mean like a
Like it says executive summary, leader in Boston, and then.
I wouldn't put the title. I mean, you could keep your last name and page number or something, or the name of the company.
Yeah.
You could do something like that. So if you wanted a header, that's okay. But page numbers need to go on the bottom.
Should it be in the center or just anywhere on the bottom?
You know, I'm not going to be that picky on that, but just make sure they're there. What's worse is to have a table of contents. I've had table of contents that don't have page numbers, which that's the only purpose of a table of contents, or that has page numbers and then there's no page numbers in the paper. Okay. Some of you may have used Word to create that table of contents for you. Good for you. If it worked out, good for you. If it didn't, well, you might have to go back and do it the old-fashioned way, because it can, I mean, a snag in that just throws it all off. Okay? Any questions on putting the paper together? For those of you face-to-face, you will have 2 copies in my office by Friday of what we call Quiet Week now. And they will need to be time-stamped by someone. Kathy is here until noon. You'll hand it to her. She'll say, Carl delivered this at 11:59 on Friday. He's good to go.
And there was a line.
And there was a line, and if they would have been a little quicker, Addie's wouldn't have been at 12:01 late. Okay, so make sure that you have 2 nicely bound copies. Now, some people say they're going to do 3 because they can keep one. Let me tell you, the ones I read, I don't write on them. I take little notes on the side and I lay them all out on the floor and I put them in different piles and then I move them around again. And my grading system is really quite tedious. But I don't write on the papers. I put notes or stickies on them. So you can have that one back if you want to eliminate doing a 3rd one for yourself. One goes archived file for the business department. One is the one that I grade. But since I'm not writing on them anymore, you can have it back. You can come get it next term or whenever. If you want one right away, then do a 3rd one for yourself. Okay. Do not take these to a place such as Kinko's. They will charge you. I've heard horror stories of $75 to $100 to print these things. Okay. Your best bet is to print it. Any pages that need to be printed in color, just print those pages in color. Do the rest in black and white, so you don't get charged for color printing. You know, if you shoot a color document to the color printer, it doesn't matter if it has color or not, you're going to have to pay. So print the whole thing in black and white, and then go back and just insert those sheets that need color on them. Say a graph or something, the color really needed to show up, or your title, your cover page or something. I would then bring it down to the print center, which is underneath the basement in the SU, and then just say, can you just bound this for me? Here's 3 copies, just bound it. Okay, and they can put a spiral bound on it, put a clear sheet on the top and maybe a hard sheet on the back. It shouldn't cost you very much at all. For those of you online, shop around. If you're getting charged $75 or $100, it's way too much. bring your papers already printed, and then, or those of you online don't need to do that, so I apologize. You will send them in one document that I'll be able to print to put as archives on, in the archives in the School of Business. So you do not need to get hard copies to me, the people online. Sorry about that.
So it's gonna be about front and back pages.
It doesn't matter if you want to go front and back or just front, either way. Okay? I'm not looking at a big thick paper and saying it's good. Okay? I may see a very small paper and a very thick paper, and one gets an F and one gets an A. I just want the information to be covered. Okay? So don't go by the thickness of it. Surely I get an A on this because it's so thick.
How long does it take at the print center to?
Well, don't wait till the last minute. That is not a time, because we're at the end of a term and this isn't the only class that needs the print center, but you have a lot better chance of having it done fairly quickly, maybe even while you wait, if you bring it in printed and they just need to bound it. Okay? So, but that is not an excuse for it being late. Let me tell you all the excuses you don't have. Your dog didn't eat it. Your computer didn't crash. The print center couldn't do it in time. You had trouble with the printer. Okay? None of those work. It's either on time or you get an NC in the class. I do not give incompletes. Everybody gets the same route out of it, because an incomplete means that I teach you the class free. Okay? So you've got to go through the whole process. It needs to be on time. If you think you're going to have a flat tire, leave the day before. Okay? If you think your car doesn't run well, double check the bus system. Tyler, there are no excuses that your imagination could come up with.
I'm trying to think of one right now.
Go ahead, hit me with it. I bet it doesn't count. Yeah, if you think of one, you go ahead and email it to me, and I'll let you know if it's going to work. Okay? So for online students, it must be posted, the complete document, by noon on Friday. No exceptions. And if noon on Friday doesn't work for you, then try noon on Thursday. Okay? So this is another example of real world. Many of you have had Mark Siders, and he says, the boss is sitting at the airport waiting for you to bring him a document to get ready to jump on the plane, and you're late, and the boss's plane left, and he doesn't have the documents to make the deal. You say, well, I had a flat tire. Well, why didn't you tell me that? Heck, we could have canceled this whole business deal. It was only going to make us $1 million. Okay? So, no late papers. Not 12:01.
What time is Kathy here on Thursday? Until
3. Okay?
You still want us to online submit too?
Yes. Everybody will online submit your presentation. There's a place for the draft. If you would like me to look at it, I'll be happy to give you some feedback on the draft of your presentation, the PowerPoint. I'll look at them real quick and just say, looks like it's in order, a little hard to read, colors make it difficult, some feedback like that. Other than that, you're on your own. I'm going to give you an example of a PowerPoint also here in just a second. But the presentation draft is up to you whether you want to post it or not. Okay? The presentation final one needs to be posted. That can be posted minutes before you're presenting. Okay? That's not something, your presentation is more important. The paper itself, there is no excuse. It needs to be online at noon and hard copy for in-class students. Not one or the other, both. Okay? If a hurricane happens to finally hit Oregon or a tsunami, then be checking the weather so you can get it in before that. Okay? All right.
When is the presentation then online?
The same time, noon.
As the
But the presentation or the paper? Presentation, the draft one, if you want me to look at it, don't put it up there the day before you're presenting.
Okay.
Try to have it up on the weekend. But if the final presentation needs to be up there just sometime before you present. Okay, I have a PowerPoint here, and this is a little different then a lot of people expect that the PowerPoints will be presented. This one is not an example on Moodle at this point. There is an example there, but it was the old style, so I'm going to replace it with this one, so you'll also have this. Whether you want to have a logo, make up something, whatever, I don't care how fancy it is, but I do want it to be professional. Okay? And that it needs to cover all the components. Act as if you're presenting this to some investors or some bankers or whoever's going to loan you money. Some more pictures here. Okay. This is the first thing. When he was showing these pictures, he was kind of talking about the business concept and what it was. If you would like to put the company description to quickly tell us what you're getting ready to talk about, that's fine. But we're starting off basically with the income statement or cash flow, whatever. Makes more sense to do the income statement. Notice this is not copied and pasted from your paper or from the Excel file. This is a summary. Has things summarized out. The gross profit, total operating. There were a lot of things that went in between there for all the total expenses. Okay? So summarize out to year 3. This is the only thing. Do not try to copy and paste the financials and say, my biggest pet peeve. I know you can't see this, but. How many times do you hear people say that when they present? I know you can't see this, but. I'm going, well then if you knew I couldn't see it, why did you present it? Okay? Now this is true for the online people. Make sure the PowerPoints look good, as you'll be presenting on Google+, and they need to look just like this. Okay? Look good?
Do we opt for,
The online? No, you cannot.
That's not fair.
Should have signed up for an online class.
No kidding.
Whoa. Okay. Notice the balance sheet also balances out. What a novelty. Okay. Assets equal the liabilities plus equity. Okay. So make sure that these are, again, there were a lot of sections in there that you can eliminate. This one maybe even has a few more than it needs, but it's a great guide for you guys if you're trying to figure out what to put on it. Cash flow, same thing. So a positive cash flow. Now don't forget, I'm going to be sitting there with all the details and the complete financials. So if this looks great here, you better make sure that every month was a positive too, because I'm going to be looking at that. Okay? Then he starts into the industry. Okay? He's just talked about it numerically. Now we're going to talk about what supports that to happen. Here's how he can quickly say some things in the industry. I do not want long sentences. I want short, bulleted, pointed things. This is not the presentation. You are the presentation. This assists you in keeping you on track. Okay? Yes?
So it's normal to capitalize every story.
It's one of those things, either you do or you don't. Okay? Now, it's normal to capitalize the first. Okay? So just consistency is the main thing. Then he went into the target market. This is how he chose to talk about the target market. Okay? You could choose another way. You could do your TMP right here. Okay? Whatever you want to do. Sales forecast. Went through, said how many units. He's got a residential, management, commercial accounts, and building accounts. He went through and figured out what his share would be after doing a TMP of both of those. Strategic position. Again, just some quick bullet points. Marketing. Company message and then tactics. One thing I will say that this wouldn't have required a bullet. A bullet indicates a list, and so you can't just have one. So he would probably leave that one off. So you have to have at least two to justify a list. So that bullet point Would that have counted off? No, I'm just telling you the proper way to do it. Okay, operations, went through some of the different areas there, spoke very concise about all these things. Management system, his goals and questions. Okay? What's this?
I've got, so it has to be kind of like that, because I was thinking about my presentation and I don't think I would take the same structure as the business plan.
Yes, you will. You're going to take the same structure where the financials are going to be first.
Okay.
You've got to talk about industry. You've got to talk about the competitors. You've got to talk about strategy. You've got to talk about operations. What would you change?
So I would like structures like this. I have 3 or 4 points, which are main factors for success. And this, okay, financials comes first. I know that now. And then I want to build around the 4 factors of success and bringing in all the parts of the plan.
As long as there's an industry, an operations, a management, a technology, whatever there, all those components need to be there. But if you want to get creative on the 4 factors of success and then feed back to them, that's fine.
Okay.
But these need to be there.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Hang on. I mean, I just, you know how I can't remember now. I already made me forget. Oh, I remember we talked about that if you want to start off, even when just the cover slide is up there, would be the time for you to talk about why you went into this business. Introduce yourself, tell them what the business is, and say, and let me give you a little feedback or a little history to why I chose this business. Make it brief, and then say, now I would like to tell you how I've put that together to see if it can be a viable business. Okay? But, you know, Addie, I looked this weekend for a metal funnel.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't find
No, I was in a kind of an antique store, but they had other stuff.
in cooking.
Oh, yeah, maybe
Online.
so. Okay. So you may bring something, maybe have a haircut, Tyler, maybe give somebody a haircut.
I'll review the demonstration.
You give me a demonstration, okay? I'm really looking forward to that. Or, you know, whatever. Make sure you're dressed professionally. This is for the people at home, too. If you want to have pajama bottoms from the bottom down on, that's fine. Don't let the glass of wine be in the video, okay? But remember to be professional, act professional, and make sure whatever's behind the screen is appropriate, too. Okay? Only reason I'm saying that is I've seen people do chats for interviews, and there's very inappropriate things they didn't think about that are hanging on the walls, or the house looks a wreck behind them. I don't care if you have a dirty house, just hang a sheet behind you, okay? But just be aware that you are being videoed, and I can see things behind there that maybe you don't want me to know about. But dress professionally. Present professionally. I do not want you reading from any kind of notes. You have been working on this for 10 weeks. You should know it. Okay?
No note cards?
No note cards, no nothing. The bullet points here should lead you to what you need to say. Okay? I don't want a big long mission statement that you're going to read out. We don't need that. It's in the paper. Remember, the paper is going to be there too. I don't know who signed up for your presentations yet. I don't know who has agreed to jump in on some of the online ones, but there might be other faculty that are viewing those as well. All of you are welcome to come to each other's. You have to come to the ones that are set in your group, but you can also come to some others earlier, which normally happens, so you can see how I tear people up, and therefore you'll be prepared for it in yours. Okay? You can even jump in on an online if you would like. Just let me know. You just sign in as Google+. You're anonymous sitting in the back. We don't even know you're there. Okay? Those are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening, almost until 10 o'clock on those nights. So there's times you can jump in, but you need to let me know ahead of time so I can invite you into the group. Yes?
How long would you say the presentation is?
Needs to be about 20 minutes and 10 minutes of questions or 15 minutes of questions. Marvin, I'm sorry, what was your question? No, it doesn't need to be. I want it professional and clean. It can be, professional and clean can just be white with black writing too. Okay? I don't need it to be real, but it needs to be professional and clean. Okay? If you want to get creative, that's great. But, this one, he took pictures of stuff that, floorings that he had done or was working on. Okay? Addie?
Do you guys ask questions during?
Well, that's another thing. You can say, will you hold questions to the end, or feel free to answer them during it, but I don't pay any attention to that. I try. I really try, and I get too excited because I want to know the answer right then, because then maybe nothing else makes sense to me if I don't have the answer. But you can say that, and maybe other people in the room would respect it, but I may not.
So just if you ask questions, just answer it.
That would be easier, then you might know a little quicker.
Right.
You know, it's nervous.
Yeah, it's easier. Now, I will say that you're in charge of the time management, not me. So if I start rambling on about a bunch of stuff and want to know and go off on a tangent, you better reel me back in, because you got things to do.
So we just go like, hey, keep it down.
That probably isn't your best bet, but you could say, you know what? Let's wait, and I'm going to get to that. It's coming up. There's another time I cover that, or that's the next slide, or can we move on so I can get through everything? If we have time at the end, we can go off on your tangents. Maybe not tell you that. Okay? But you are in charge of the time management. And what happens a lot, faculty get very excited in these plans. And so they want to start asking questions. Then they start talking amongst each other. But if they did this, they could do this. And you got to say, hey, hold up there. Let me show you some other cool stuff I have. Okay? Yes.
Do we know who our panel of professors is?
I don't, but you can check with Kathy. I don't know if people have started filling in. They'll do it a little closer to probably next week. But some faculty have already filled in their slots. Okay? You can invite faculty that you want. Okay? I've invited Mark Siders to all of yours. Okay? No. You can invite faculty if you want. Doesn't really matter, or you can just.
How many faculty members are
At least one in myself, and sometimes two in myself. We've got a lot of them going this term, so we'll see what their schedules are to how many we get. But you can invite faculty if you like. Yes.
Do they have any influence on the grade? Like
They will fill out an evaluation sheet. It will be considered. Okay. If I'm bordering on an A or a B and they give you a C, it's probably going to sway me a little bit towards the B. It's going to have very little influence, but I will look at it. It's more for the feedback that you will get. I tell you, it's not a time for them to challenge you, really. It's really a time to say, wow, this student is getting ready to graduate with a business degree. This is our last chance to make sure they fully understand it. And if this is a business you're really going to do, we want to make sure you're successful. Okay? So don't get defensive. That's the worst thing you can do. Okay? If there's something they say, did you consider such and such? And you didn't say, no, but that's a great thing. I will consider that if I pursue this. Or, yes, I did. It's coming a little further. Or, I did think about it. I didn't put it in my plan, but these were my concerns on why I didn't. You can just have a conversation. Remember, you're the expert on this. There is no faculty member coming in that probably has studied food carts as much as you have, or organic, or the trampolines, or IT, or the gyms, or healthcare, or any of those things like you have. But you need to prove to them that you've covered all aspects, and that you've shown evidence that the business is a success, or you've shown evidence that this business isn't a success. If it is not a success and they say, so are you going to pursue this? Do not say yes if you just lost $1 million the first year, okay? But you could say, I am still very interested in this. However, the location was wrong. There wasn't enough demand. So I will look into doing the same plan in another location. So it's okay to say that, but don't be silly and say, yes, I'm gonna put another $1 million in and give it one more try, okay? I know eventually I'll get those haircuts right and they're gonna come back to me. Right now they look like the wind was blowing one way, but pretty soon I'm gonna get those haircuts right, okay? Tyler thinks he's my favorite student. He is. He is. He always signs every email my favorite student. He just doesn't know that all my students are my favorite students. Didn't your mom ever tell you I love you the most, and she went to your sister and say I love you the most? And so it's
That's
kind
always
of,
it's me.
oh yeah, that's what you think. Yeah, and you can think that about being my favorite student too. So. Anyway,
Did we actually get a letter grade for this presentation for the whole plan? Or do you just give us more points on the grade?
Presentation is just part of the end grade, right?
yeah, it's numbered points, and then the numbered points for everything add up. I will tell you that if you have not been submitting drafts or giving peer reviews, it could cause, even if you pull a rabbit out of the hat, not to pass the class. I mean, all of that was part of the class, even though they were small little numbers. If you missed a couple, you're probably okay. Unfortunately, if you miss some, you don't get the feedback, and so it's probably not going to be great in the paper, okay? I don't mean to be ugly, but I don't give grades in here. You earn them, and I give you exactly what you earn, okay? And so if you earn an F, you get an F, okay? I do not give incompletes at all. I will be happy to give you an NC so it will not affect your grade, GPA, but that means you have to pay and sign up for the class over again. Okay? So just do it. Okay? Pull a rabbit out of the hat. You've got, what, 2 weeks? You can do it. Oh, this week.
1 week?
Is it this Friday? It's this,
Yeah.
is this quiet week?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we better be quiet. So this is quiet week. So you're really at the end here. So I think you're all, if you've been making the changes as you go and taking those comments, what is going to kill you on these papers is if you have not taken the feedback and you continue to present something and I say, oh my, I checked this 6 times, and guess what? I have all the copies. Okay? So if I see,
No contraction.
no contractions. So if I see, my gosh, we did this 10 times and you're still, okay, you're not taking it serious, so neither am I.
I couldn't read your handwriting.
Well, this isn't the time to tell me you couldn't read my handwriting. Yes.
So these are just circled on your paper, no comment, just circles around things.
She just doesn't like that word.
Is that just wording, a wording
Yeah.
issue?
It's probably a wording issue, or if it has a circle and a question mark, I'm not sure what this means. I'll usually say sentence structure. I'll say if it's circled, then it's a number that should have been spelled out, or it's a contraction encircled, or you use the word run, for heaven's sakes, and then inappropriately. Those would be circled, okay? But now's not the time to be asking questions about circling things from the first paper you
I was
turned in.
making sure, so I'm
I know, I know.
F in the class.
Okay. All right, so I'm pretty much done with you guys. Until I see you, well, I'll come by probably at 1 o'clock and pick them all up. But other than that, I will see you for presentations. The presentation schedule has been posted online. I think I just updated it because we had some shifting. The presentation is online. Is anybody planning not to present? Meaning you're going to fail the class. Is anybody saying at the last minute that I'm not presenting?
But that was a trick question.
Because what I don't want to do is make somebody wait 2 hours and the slot above them was open and we're all just hanging out. So if you're not going to complete the class, then tell me now.
No, something that I just had a question.
Really? You raised your hand for that.
So for our time slot, does that account into getting ready for the presentation, or is that solely? It does.
Yeah, it has a setup time. So it's like 15 minutes. So if it says at 12 to 12:15 setup, you both need to be there at 12. You can both go ahead and have your presentations loaded. And so when the one finishes, you just open yours and keep going.
Okay.
So maybe bring it on a thumb drive. Do not get up there and say, oh my gosh, my email's not working. Oh my gosh, I thought I emailed it to myself and I didn't. Oh my gosh, my email account's down. You better have some backups. I don't care if you have to burn a CD, bring a thumb drive, bring another computer in, do whatever you got to do. There are no excuses, guys. Technology is not perfect. When I presented my capstone, which was different than a business plan, the computers would not hold the amount of space on our F drives, which is what we called them then, and now are called P drives. We literally had to bring our CPUs up so that we could plug them in so that it would have enough space. Either that or we had to take a bunch of stuff out. So you don't have any of those excuses. You can do a thumb drive, you can do a CD, you can email it to yourself several different ways, email it to a buddy that you can call real quick and say, get that email to me now before I just fail this file. Yeah, but don't just have it in one place. That's right, but you better hope it went okay on Moodle, and that's the updated one. What I'm saying is, there are no excuses. I've heard them all, and I bet I've even used some that are pretty clever myself, okay, that I won't share. They didn't work either.
So I got my presentation on Monday. Is there any time, like Monday morning, where before the presentations, where we could come in and like just test it?
You know what, Frederick, what you'll need to do is look at the schedule, because that room, John Kennard's students are doing it as well. So if there's an opening, you can do that. If there's not, you won't be able to test it in that room. You can test it in another room, and chances are they're all the same computers that'll work. Okay? Guys okay? We don't have a wireless mouse in there. There is a smart board. What I don't want you to do on the smart board, you're welcome to tap it and it'll go, but I don't want to hear this every time. Every time you get to go do the next one, okay? Just as light tap will be just fine.
Can I draw you a picture
Draw me a picture?
on the smartboard?
On the smart board, yes, you can do that. You see what it'll get you. Or you can use the arrow keys on the keyboard. Works a lot better than right-clicking and you're nervous and you're trying to hit previous, okay? Just use the arrow keys to go front and back, okay? It makes a very smooth transition. What I also don't want to see is every single effect that you've learned over the years used in one PowerPoint. Okay? I don't want to be shocked in which way each thing's flying in. The backgrounds need to be consistent, the text needs to be consistent, colors need to be consistent, all of that. I don't want to be shocked wondering where the next sentence is going to fly in from. And I do not want to hear any cha-chings when they fly in. Okay? No sound effects. Not even for the cash flow, and not even your own applause at the end. None of that. I want it just straightforward. Okay? Any last minute questions? Okay, it's been a pleasure having you guys. I think you're all going to do great. Do not get nervous about the presentation. Remember, you're the expert. You're the one who's been doing the research for this. Okay? And
Can I wear sunglasses?
Because your future's so bright.
No, they make me not nervous.
No, you can't wear
like Big
sunglasses. And
Daddy.
you definitely aren't wearing your baseball cap on backwards. And you can't even wear a baseball
Can
cap.
I wear a baseball cap?
No.
Oh, it's for his purpose, though.
Only if it's your recycled one and then it sets on the table, just as a demo. Okay? All right. We're all going to be dressed professionally. Okay? Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Look forward to your presentation.
Anybody wants
Yeah,
to
the whole
present?
time.